should be justice for the blood that has been shed on the soil of Ayawaso West Wuogon.
Tonight, the mass protest that got the Interior Minister to commit to address the rising sense of insecurity and lawlessness in the country in the wake of the Ayawaso by-election violence.
We demand an immediate and unequivocal resignation of the Minister for National Security, the Minister of State in charge of national security.
President and the ministry prepared to work the inter-party committee with all Ghanaians to ensure that Ghana remains the oasis of peace in the West sub-region.
We have reactions from the IGP, who was booed by the protesters, the Interior Minister and the Presidency on the day government committed to draw a roadmap to deal with political vigilantism.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is always brought to you by Born Your Success, Our Passion. Is also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the Nation Builder, Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready, and nationwide. Well, they came in their numbers. The women, including former ministers, threw themselves to the floor and managed to exact a commitment from the Interior Minister to deal with the rising sense of insecurity and lawlessness in the country. The protesters, made up of a coalition of opposition parties, have declared what they term an aggressive plan to roll out a series of protests across the country. The protesters, who marched through the principal streets of Accra earlier today, presented 3 petitions, one to the IGP, another to the Interior Ministry, and a third to the President. Now, their demand simple: arrest and prosecute the perpetrators behind last Thursday's violence in the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. Listen to the NDC women organizer, Hannah Bisu.
There should be justice for the blood that has been shed on the soil of Ayawaso West Wuogon. The President, with immediate effect, should disband that terrorist group that he is using the police armory to arm them, to turn on we the citizenry. So that's all that we are saying, that one piece going forward.
Well, today we got an official reaction from the main opposition NDC to the setting up of that presidential commission yesterday, and the party's general secretary, Jones Yasiru Nketia, in no uncertain terms rejected the presidential commission, describing it as fake.
A sitting Minister of State for National Security has come to claim responsibility for deploying those thugs to go and commit those atrocities. So what else do the police and the security services need to apprehend those people? Nothing. They are unable to do that. If you resist and you are killed, it's better than condoning illegality and then be killed while we are not fighting. We will fight. If they choose, they should kill all of us. History will tell us that we are martyrs and we fought for a good cause.
Those who were shot, live bullets, unprotected, unarmed. I am crying for them. We saw them in the hospital. Their pain is unbearable. The trauma is unbearable. We are saying that democracy in Ghana is not for one person. Democracy is for all. It is the government by the people and for the people. And we will resist oppression. We will fight for the rule of law, justice in this country. That is why we are crying.
So, my colleague MF Adredosi was at this particular protest, walked with them all the way, and she joins me in the studio. Who was it that we were listening to?
That's Madam Sherry Aite.
And just before that, we heard some of the women shouting and screaming, and I saw videos of some of them on the floor in the middle of the street. Who were these? Were these just ordinary protesters or prominent figures from former governments? So
they started, it was just the ordinary people, those who were protesting on the street. They sat on the floor wailing, and then later the former gender minister Nana Oyelitha also joined, and then Sherry Aite was also on the floor. So they were all on the floor wailing and shouting and screaming that in tree, yeah bro, yeah bre. So that's what we just played.
And so that's Sherry Aite there. She was also on the floor with them.
She was also on the floor with Nana Oyelitha.
What was some of the placards? Some interesting placards were wielded.
So boot for boot, our security service have been compromised. I saw Nana is a tyrant. They had such words on their placards.
They were led by, I think, Bernard Mona, who is the national chairman of PNZ as well, because a collection of opposition political parties. Their fundamental concern is that a number of the security chiefs in the country currently should resign.
Yes, so they are calling for the national security minister, which is Kandapa, to resign. They are also asking that the Minister of State in charge of security, Brian Champong, also resign, and that of also the IGP, Asante Apietu.
The national security apparatus will demand an immediate and unequivocal resignation of the Minister for National Security, Mr. Albert Kandapa, the Minister of State in charge of national security, Honorable Brian Achampo, for unlawfully recruiting unqualified ministerians and grooms and equipping them with state-owned military and police weapons and equipment to commit this heinous and says for the religion of duty.
No, Bernard Mona.
Demand the immediate arrest of all the hoodlums in the conducted in the last 6 days terrorists to face full rigor of the law before escaping out of the country.
So they want a lot of these security chiefs, including the IGP, by the way. The same individual they attempted to present a petition to. But there was some drama surrounding that. What happened?
So when we got to the police headquarters, the protesters started shouting, IGP must go, IGP must go. Then the IGP...
So they were booing him?
They were booing him.
Before he came on, when he stepped out?
When he stepped out, they were booing him. Then he
was
went
this
back.
On the police headquarters premises or outside?
Where it was at the gate.
Okay, so he came all the way to the gate to meet them?
To meet them.
Okay.
And then he went back inside.
After because or was he reacting?
I don't know whether he was reacting to the booing, but he went back inside and then he came out again. Did the booing
stop when he went out?
Well, it was persistent. I mean, they did it for the first time like about a minute. They stopped, then it started again. So it wasn't just a flow thing. It happened just like that.
Came for the petition. When he came for the petition, did they still boo him or they just?
Well, they started booing, but they stopped at a point when he started speaking. So he was very brief. He just said that they have received their petition and that they will work on it.
Peaceful conduct of this demonstration. Having received this, we are going to give this petition our attention, our utmost attention, and definitely we will respond to that.
The drama, though, surrounding the petition to the Interior Minister wasn't as pronounced. It was a straightforward one, and it got some commitments from him as well.
Yes, he says that the president was committed to ensuring that the country was very peaceful and that, in fact, he was going to work with this inter-party coalition for national sovereignty.
Ghana belongs to all of us, but I can assure you that Mr. President is committed to making sure that Ghana is safe. We might have our differences about what is safety and what is not. But one thing I can assure you is that the president and the ministry prepared to work with the inter-party committee, with all Ghanaians, to ensure that Ghana remains the oasis of peace in the sub-region and that we go up to international best standards. So we shall study this, and I only pray that you keep it peaceful, give us space to investigate whatever has taken place. I've heard your version about it, but I can assure you that rest assured that in this country we will do our best to make it safe and together. will make Ghana a better place.
I know before today there was a tussle between the organizers and the police on whether or not they'll be allowed to go to the presidency to present the petition. I know that Ben Almona and co had been given a letter warning that they cannot do that, and they had said that they would defy the police. It appears that, well, it not appears, they indeed went to the presidency today. How did that happen? Where did they strike that compromise?
So when I got to the Obraspo this morning, one DSP came and I asked him, so where are we going today? Are we using the usual route, or we are going to go by the normal route that the group is calling for? Now he tells me that they don't know yet until the leadership of this group come. And this conversation was around 6:30. So when DSP Kwesi Fori came, I got close to him and he told me that, they know that the party is organized or the group is organized, and that they're sure that even if they use the route that the party is proposing, then it would still be peaceful. And so in order to ensure that there is no confusion and everything is right, they will still go by that of this group. So they went by the group. They didn't use the normal routes. The normal demonstrations always ends at the House of Folk Park. Yes. It didn't end like that today. Today, the final destination was at the Flagstaff or the Jubilee House now.
I see. So how was the petition presented? Because the Jubilee House is a very big place. Did they have somebody already in mind who was coming to? Who are they intending to give the petition to? The president himself?
No, they said they wanted to present it to the vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So that was the expectation. But then when we got to the Jubilee House, it was different. It was rather Roxanne Bukari that was there.
I assure you that the petitions shall be submitted to His Excellency the President for his due consideration. Meanwhile, I want to assure you that His Excellency the President remains committed to make each Ghanaian and resident feel safe.
So that's Roxanne Bukari, and when she was talking, you could hear in the background that there was a lot of was it booing or?
People were booing. They were booing throughout his speech.
Give me a sense. Was this on the premises of the
the
Jubilee House?
So you know the 37 highway, like the main road, just in front of the Flagstaff House.
Okay.
They had blocked one section.
Just Kaiser King, where Kaiser King is, where the traffic light is.
Where the traffic light is, exactly.
Okay.
Just where the traffic light is, right in front, the gate of the Jubilee House. That is where they received the petition.
And did you get a sense that the protesters after today were happy with the outcome of the protest and the demonstration?
Well, yeah, they were. And they said that they're going to carry out a lot of this. In fact, Evan, some of these protesters were coming from as far as Tamale, the Volta region, the Western region and the Eastern region. They said they were satisfied with what they came to do.
The way the country is going right now, we are not happy at all. We are not safe. A lot of things have happened. A lot of people have died. When you ask, they will say they are doing the investigation. They are making arrested. None of any person have been arrested. And recently we saw people who have been molested in Ahawasowego. We don't know how far it will go. So we have to prove to our president that we have to resist any oppressor's rule. He should up his game. Many things are happening. Right now we hear that he have trouble. His children is dying. And he's leaving his children for another country.
Whatever happens, National Security Minister said that they were his people. And if they were his people, that means the National Security Minister worked for Akufo-Addo. He was appointed by Nana Addo. So Nana Addo is aware about whatever is going on. The investigation that they are setting up is a sham. Because the people that they have appointed to chair the Presidential Commission, they are all NPP appointees.
The NPP people, they are trying to assault us and we are not taking it 2020. They should change their IGP.
I make it as a point to be here today. There are a lot of issues that is going on in this country and people are keeping a bright eye on it. So today, a lot of us were from Sugakopa and we are also sympathizers of those who are dying.
Some of the protesters there. Let's bring in Chief Superintendent Kwesi Fori, Regional Operations Director here in Accra. Joins us on the line right now. Chief, thank you very much for the time here on Top Story.
Well, thank you, sir.
I know a couple of days back, the police had written to the protesters raising security concerns with the route that they intended to take, including going to the Flagstaff House. But it appears that you struck some sort of compromise. What changed?
Thank you very much. As managers of public order management, we met and discussed the routes, but there were disagreements. And to enable us to arrive at some terms to avoid violence, to avoid over disagreement, over issues, we revised some aspect of our notes and allowed the demonstrators to go through some principal streets in Accra. By that, we redoubled our security effort and presence. And I can say that it was a joint decision between the Accra Regional Police Command and the Office of the Director General Operations. And the contingency plans and the deployment plans worked perfectly, making us to witness an incident-free demonstration involving a huge number of people.
And today, were you happy with the conduct of the protesters?
One thing, we actually spoke to the leadership, questioned that conduct and comportment during the demonstration is key to avoid any kind of incident. And I believe that both parties, the organizers and the police, actually conducted themselves properly. The police were very professional, very up and doing, and they were also able to clear the huge traffic on some of these lanes, knowing the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue through the UTC area is a huge and no-go area. But with tact and good strategy, we were able to clear the road and allow them, to go safely. And those affected communities also were able to engage them, talk to them, and everything went on smoothly without any incident.
The protesters have served notice tonight that this is a first in a series of protests, not only in Accra, but will be replicated across the country. Is the police ready to handle this?
I'm in Accra. One thing is, it is a constitutional right, and whoever decides so, the public order law requests that that person should have a discussion with the police, and the police will look at, the estimated number of people, the route to be used, and so forth. And based on consensus, I think it takes place. So I would say that the Ghana Police Service is ever prepared to serve the good people of this country at all times. It's our mandate, and we are there for everybody.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That is the Chief Superintendent Kwesi Fore, Regional Operations Commander here in Accra on Top Story. So listen to Top Story on Joy 99.7 FM. We can now speak to one of the leading figures who put this together. Is a former national organizer of the main opposition National Democratic Congress, Mr. Kofi Adams. Mr. Adams, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So tell me, did you achieve what you set out to achieve with today's protest today?
Yeah, today is a start. We wrote to the police, indicated our routes. They said they were not going to allow us to use those routes. Finally, we gathered our people and we went through those routes and presented a petition. So if you are looking at it from that angle, yes, we achieved what we set out to achieve for today.
But what you just said can be described as lawless. I mean, the police said no. He said, yeah, you went to the routes anyway.
How can it be lawless?
You've been in protest all the time.
Since when writing to the police to inform them that I want to demonstrate, to present petition here and there, these are the routes that I will use. And they said, no, there are traditional routes for demonstration. Do you know any traditional route for demonstration in this country? Do you have anything like that? So it was the police that was trying to be lawless with us. They know what they should do. The court has given a ruling on if you think that you don't want to allow demonstrators to demonstrate or use a particular route, what you should do. So we were not being lawless at all. So don't describe us with those words. What we were trying to do was to demonstrate to stop lawlessness that was visited acts of terrorism that was visited on Ghanaians on Thursday, that Black Thursday, that Black Bloody Thursday, 31st January, we want to say to the leadership of this country, headed by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that never again should that happen. And that was why we did what we did. We are now waiting for actions from them.
What do you expect when you say actions from them? What's concretely, specifically, do you expect?
We have in our petition that we expect a number of persons to resign. The Minister for National Security must go. The Minister responsible for security at the presidency must go. We think that the National Security Coordinator, all of whom start together and release the state's equipment for bandits to go about visiting mayhem on the people, must go. They have proven that they cannot protect us. We believe that the IGP, whether he knew or he didn't know, and allow his vehicles also to be used for that act, is complicit in all this. And we also think that the Commission of Inquiry thing is just about a cover-up. If we look at the membership of that inquiry, first and foremost, nothing come out of it. These are clearly people who are sympathetic towards MPP, and knowing the position of the
Miss Adams, you cannot make such a pronouncement on the show that the likes of Emil Short, Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, and K. Achampo are people who have sympathies with the party. Unfortunately, I cannot allow that to happen on the show because they are not here to defend themselves, and it's very unfair to make pronouncements like that about them.
They are sympathetic. Evans. They are sympathetic.
No, you cannot say that. But you don't have any evidence to back that. And these are people who have earned that reputation over years, and they are not here to defend themselves. I'm sorry, but you cannot make that pronouncement about people such as we have on that committee, because you're not here. If somebody said it about you, I'm pretty sure you'll be requiring of me to put the person to strict proof, but also force that person to retract and apologize. That's exactly what you have to do.
To provide you the reason why I'm saying they are sympathetic.
No, I'm not. I'm unfortunately not ready to entertain you to provide me evidence of what you think that we are making pronouncements about people's reputations and characters, and I simply cannot allow that. I'm grateful that you joined me on this show. If you insist that that's what you want to say, I cannot, for the life of me, allow that to happen, because if I cannot justify in any forum how you can accuse these individuals of being partisan in any way. Ms. Adams, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story. By the way, this all is happening today at the time when the government has held a dialogue, a high-powered dialogue with top security chiefs, civil society groups, religious leaders, and security analysts, among others. The agenda is to find a long-lasting, holistic approach to the issues that pose a threat to national security. The National Security Stakeholders Dialogue will present what government describes as the Pedrassi roadmap to deal with what major security challenges they believe exist in this country, particularly political vigilantism. Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah has been briefing the media on the ongoing dialogue.
This is not the first that we have held in the last 2 years. We've had the opportunity to hold, I think, about 2 or so earlier. And this is one in the series of national security stakeholders dialogues that we have to deal with some of the emerging security threats that the nation faces. We have our own internal security challenges that we have to deal with, some of which we've reported in recent weeks. We have issues with political vigilantism. Of course, it forms part of the major discussions here today. Terrorism is another issue, and the terrorism threats associated with it, especially if you watch what's been happening in Burkina Faso and some of our neighboring countries. We can't be just resting on our oars, and so there's a need to engage. What the security chiefs and the political brass have been doing is updating the stakeholders, as you notice behind closed doors, on the kind of work that is going on, and also taking feedback and in some cases some ideas and guidance and suggestions. One of the key things is the development of a roadmap to trying to put a final end to these issues of political vigilantism in the country as well. And we do expect that we will exit here with that roadmap by the time we are done today.
Well, there have also been concerns about political interference in the work of the police, contributing to the impunity of these vigilante groups. Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah indicated that the roadmap will deal with the independence and conduct of the security agencies as well.
there are domestic security issues, the general ones of robberies, kidnappings, in particular, the statistics on those, and some of the measures that need to be taken to quicken what the local law enforcement agencies have been trying to do, the kind of collaboration they need with international agencies, because, as I'm sure you are aware, there is a bit of information that because of the porous nature of some of our borders, sometimes people slip in and out, and also collaborate with local Ghanaian actors to commit some of these crimes. So those are some of the domestic security issues that we've also been dealing with.
There have been concerns about the conduct of the security officials themselves, sometimes in handling these issues. Is there a roadmap to deal with that as well?
Indeed, it forms part of the issues that are being raised. You have seen videos and I've heard instances in which security persons complain that some of them are worried about political interference. The political class has been also making the point that they are willing to give them a free hand to work. There's a history to it, right from the days of independence till now. Which perhaps we haven't managed pretty well as a country. And then there are those who point fingers to the conduct of the security officials themselves as well. But it is around the table like this that you can get the various stakeholders being honest and upfront and opening up without any victimization, and some very professional work being done. The president is very committed that some of these ills that have been around for decades, we, at least during his time, managed to find a lasting solution to it. And today's engagement is part of those exercises to find a lasting solution to them.
And that is Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. If you join us on Newsnight, well, he's been responding to concerns from the NDC that the Commission of Inquiry would not yield much and is an attempt to sweep things under the carpet. We'll hear government position on that here on Joy 99.7 FM.
It's time to experience something